first off, right off the bat, before we get into, well, episode 557 of Monster Kid Radio, just a quick apology. We had some technical issues, and I'll save you all the gory details, but the bottom line is that in an attempt to do some upgrades to my computer recently, Magic Man Tom and I pulled all the cables out, the USB cords in particular, to gain access to the box and, rip it apart and look at the guts and that sort of thing. And in that process, somehow or other, I completely disabled the microphone and the sound card and everything else sound related to my machine, which, as you can imagine, is kind of an issue when it comes to creating audio content. I could hear the audio. I could edit what was already there, but I couldn't create new audio like I'm doing right now. I couldn't create new audio like this apology for letting you know that I am sorry that the episode of Monster Kid Radio is a little bit late. But the episode is still here. Better late than never. Welcome to the podcast devoted to the classic and sometimes not so classic genre cinema of yesteryear. I'm your writer, host, producer, Derek M. Cook. And for the record, I'm not blaming Magic Man Tom on this, my computer guy. Tom is amazing and has done so much for Monster Kid Radio over the years. I think it's even fair to say, if not for Tom, there would not be a Monster Kid Radio. So, big thanks to Tom. Five Fingers with Parasol, that's the name of the band that you're hearing right now. The song is called Astronave 63, and it's from the album Si Yo Tuviera Una Longboard. It translates to If I Had a Longboard. It's in Spanish. I don't read or speak Spanish. I did the best that I could. But that's the name of the song, and you're going to be able to find it over at their Bandcamp page, which is at the number 5fingers.bandcamp.com. So 5fingers.bandcamp.com. Check them out when you're done listening to this episode of the podcast. They've given us permission to play their music here on the show in the past, and it's been a while since I've played any of their stuff, so thought I'd dip into their catalog, and this is what you're getting this week. You're going to hear the song in its entirety at the end of this episode. And this episode. I'm really excited about this episode. We've got Kenny's look at Famous Monsters of Filmland. It's a good one. We've got the Beta Capsule review. It continues. Yes, we wrapped up Ultraman last week, but now it is time to get into Ultraseven. I can't wait. And I'm doing something a little bit different this time around with the Beta Capsule review. You see, I had seen all of Ultra Q, I'd seen all of Ultraman, and I'd seen most of Ultraseven and a handful of the other Ultraman series over the years. Big fan of Ultraman 80 in particular. But with Ultraseven, I hadn't seen the entire run. I sat down this past week with Wednesday and watched the first 3 episodes of Ultraseven because I intend to keep abreast with what Mark Matzke's talking about in the Beta Capsule review. And I'm really glad I did. I took the shrink wrap off my Mill Creek Entertainment Ultraseven box that I've had sitting on my shelf for a long time and dove right in, and oh man, so good. So good. You know what else is so good though? The conversation this week with returning guest Stephen Turek. We're going to be talking about the movie The Alien Factor, which is a little outside of the wheelhouse, but I'll tell you why we're covering it when we get to the conversation in which we're covering it later on in this episode. Of course, that's after the look at Famous Monsters of Filmland and Mark Matzke's Beta Capsule review. We're going to get to all of that right after this.
That is an incredible motion picture. An entire town goes berserk when a giant underwater creature attacks all human life. That is a frightening experience. Don't miss that.
Welcome to a night of total terror. Night of the living dead. The dead who live on living flesh. The dead whose haunted souls hunt the living. The living whose bodies are the only food for these ungodly creatures. undead. More shattering than your strangest nightmare.
Please, we're doing all we can for you. We're trying to bring you back down to normal size.
You do think I'm a freak, don't you? But you know, to me, you're the freak, the one who's different. I'm not growing, you're shrinking!
He started as a normal human being, but now each day he doubles in size. Where will it stop? The amazing, colossal man.
Colonel, he's been reported in Las Vegas. Impossible. How can he walk 120 miles in only an hour?
Impossible? Not when you're 60 feet tall. The amazing, colossal man.
Live from the Land of Light in Nebula M78, home of the mighty Ultra Heroes, it's Monster Kid Radio's Beta Capsule Review. An all-new credit sequence and theme song introduces Ultraseven Episode 1, The Invisible Challenger. We are immediately informed that an invasion of Earth is underway. As people from all walks of life spontaneously vanish, the viewer is taken to a secret base for the Terrestrial Defense Force, packed with the best scientific equipment and cutting-edge weaponry. Among the TDF members are the Ultra Guard, comprised of Captain Kiriyama, Soga, an expert marksman, Furuhashi, an experienced athlete, Amagi, a skilled tactician, and Anne, a nurse. While investigating the disappearance of two TDF members, Furuhashi and Soga encounter a mysterious wanderer who goes by the name Dan Moriboshi, who saves them from an attacking UFO and drives them back to headquarters. The invisible craft then bombs an industrial area, and Alien Cool claims responsibility, threatening to strike Tokyo next. The TDF acts on Dan's suggestion to make the enemy saucer visible, and when he accompanies the Ultra Guard on their counter mission, proves to be full of surprises. Episode 1, The Invisible Challenger, debuted October 1st, 1967, and it signaled that Tsuburaya Productions was back in a major way. From the elaborate underground base, to the three-part Ultra Hawk aircraft, to the armored car nicknamed the Pointer, Dan Moriboshi's use of Capsule Monster Wyndham, and Ultraseven unleashing the lethal Eye Slugger, essentially a bladed boomerang on Alien Cool. There are bold and downright iconic elements in almost every scene. Familiar faces abound. Both Akihiko Hirata and Kenji Sahara are part of the TDF Brain Trust, and Sandayu Dokumamashi, the Science Patrol's own Arashi, stars as Ultra Guard member Furuhashi. Of the new faces in Ultraseven, one stands out because he finally gets to show it. It's Satoshi Bin Furuya, in the role of Ultra Guard member Amagi. He was in every episode of the original Ultraman series, but we never saw his face, because it was concealed by the silver mask of our first hero from the Land of Light. For Monster Kid Radio's Beta Capsule Review, this is Mark Matzke reporting.
Total terror! Frankenstein meets the Space Monster!
All recorders to fast.
This is it! For the first time on the screen, America's missile might mobilized against annihilating invaders from outer space.
We have come here to this planet for one purpose only, to acquire breeding stock to repopulate our planet.
See the kidnapping of the Earth Maidens for the love-starved slaves of the sterile planet.
Very good. We have done well, Nadia.
I am pleased, Princess. You are satisfied.
I will be satisfied when we have enough more like her to commence phase 3.
See the terrifying invasion of the Beach Party. See Frankenstein meets the Space Monster in Futurama.
The incredible shrinking man.
You are getting smaller. There's no medical precedent for what's happening to you. I simply know that you're getting smaller.
I want you to start thinking about us, our marriage. Some awful things might happen.
As long as you've got this wedding ring on, you've got me.
This is Orson Welles speaking. I have 45 seconds to tell you about something I think you'll remember the longest day you live. It's about a man named Scott Carey. A few months ago, he was 6 feet 2 inches tall and weighed 190 pounds. Today, he's 2 inches tall, and you can hold him in the palm of your hand. Now he lives in a world where he must fight for his life, a world where a friendly house cat is a predatory monster.
Incredible because it's almost beyond imagining. Incredible because every hour he gets smaller and smaller. Incredible because every moment the terror mounts.
I am Dr. Lee Cushing. Welcome to my Chamber of Horrors.
Dr. Cushing's Chamber of Horrors is a monster rally novel in the tradition of the classic Universal and Hammer horror film. It's written by Stephen D. Sullivan, the award-winning author of White Zombie, Daikaiju Attack, Manos: The Hands of Fate, and one of the creators of the original Chill role-playing game.
This book recreates the thrills of the classic monster vs. monster film. We've got vampires, werewolves, mummies, psychic twins, scheming madmen, and plenty of unexpected chills.
Now you can get Dr. Cushing's Chamber of Horrors in print, or for Kindle at Amazon.com and other fine retailers. Coming soon in other ebook formats. Find out more at CushingHorrors.com or SDSullivan.com, and support Steve's work through Patreon at HeySteve.com.
I do hope you've enjoyed your visit. Please come again, and remember, the chamber is always waiting for its next victim.
Hello there, Monster Kid Radio heads. This is Kenny with a look at Famous Monsters of Filmland. Today, Derek and Steve will be talking about the low-budget Alien Factor. This film was not only featured in FM, one of its aliens graced the cover. And this in the middle of the Star Wars Close Encounters craze. Let's look at Alien Factor's appearance in FM 143 from May of 1978. On the cover, we have the strange humanoid alien against a hot pink background. Inside, we have a 4-page article with 7 photos. Let's hear what it had to say. Night of the Living Dead, Schlock, Dark Star, Flesh Gordon. Names indeed to conjure with. Another independent feature-length film now stands in the wings, waiting to be judged. A science fiction film known as The Alien Factor. Note, that is an actual bold-lettered typo in FM, not me mispronouncing. Here's the story. The small town of Perry Hill in remote western Maryland is a quiet town. restful, peaceful, the kind of place a person could retire to. Enjoying the view of a sunset from their car are Mary Jane and her boyfriend Rex Walker. Everything seems as normal as one might expect until they are attacked. Attacked by a thing so horrible that it borders on being alien. A large black shape covers the faces of the two lovers and pulls the screaming Rex completely out of the car. Mary Jane cowers as she stares at the Imferbice. The Imferbice, a man-sized insect, savagely destroying the boy she was just sitting with. In a panic, Mary Jane flees the car and escapes as the Imferbice puts its vicious finishing touches to Rex. And this happens only 3 minutes into the film. The rest of the synopsis follows, and after that, these production notes. The film was made by Cinemagic Visual Effects Incorporated. The group is made up of dedicated fans who have been making fantasy-oriented amateur movies for years. Some studied filmmaking in college. In the summer of '76, they decided they would take the big step. Spearheaded by Don Dohler, editor of a fanzine devoted to special effects, the group began to hold regular meetings in the home of George Stover, known to FM readers as the publisher of Black Oracle fanzine. George, who has been an actor in Baltimore film and stage productions, was given the role of Stephen, and the people who would eventually be involved with the film began to pop up. Finally, after much looking, Don Liefert was chosen to play the leading role, the monster killer adventurer. As the first day of shooting drew close, Don Dohler put the finishing touches to his script. The equipment and film were obtained, and the alien factor was on its way. The most exciting thing about the alien factor is, of course, the aliens. The Imferbice was built and worn by Larry Schlechter, a local makeup artist. Larry followed the description in Dohler's script and came up with a man-like version of a cockroach. He molded paper mache over portions of hinged cardboard and used this as the basis of the creation. Details like shiny black eyes and the way the thing was to walk all came later. In the end, the finished product you see on the screen was made up of 7 main pieces. The Zagatile is another of the deadly aliens. Built and worn by John Constantino, the creature is a remarkable 7.5 feet tall. The story behind the construction of the Zagatile is just as amazing as the beast itself. Since Constantino was going to be the Zagatile, he began the process by somehow making a large plaster cast of his own body. With this, he began the sculpting process necessary to make this strange being as lifelike as possible. Using ski boots, John molded 1.5-foot high claw-like feet for the creature. Yards of brownish fur, gallons of latex, and many hours later, John had himself an exceptionally realistic alien. Fans of Harryhausen and Danforth should like one of the other aliens, the Lemoide. The Lemoide is a 3-dimensional stop-motion creation. It is a glowing energy being, invisible by day, hauntingly present by night. The music for the film is an original symphonic synthesizer score. Needless to say, the music definitely fits the overall mood of the picture. 22 dedicated actors, filmmakers, and artists donated their time and talent to create monsters and special effects, said to be worthy of any Hollywood standard. The opening credits scene is quoted as truly outstanding. Unproven talents have made it on the professional screen before. We have but to remember Equinox, Schlock, The Blob, Dark Star. The important factor is competence in order to compete in the theatrical market. George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, Jim Danforth, John Landis, Rick Baker, Paul Clemens, Mark Hamill, and others have all come up through the ranks from FM-inspired fans. FM hopes, as an ongoing source of inspiration to the new generation, it has something more to be proud of in the alien factor. That is all for this week's look at Famous Monsters of Filmland. We will have more next week. For MKR, this is Kenny saying adios.
It is the future. Mankind has conquered the stars. He moves out to the endless interstellar reaches of the universe. An advanced exploration corps A new breed of pioneer must seek out unstable planets and destroy them.
Drive sequence begun. Hit it, Pinback.
And you are on the mission of the 21st Century Planet Smashers. Dark Star. 20 years in space. 1 million light years from Earth. Their job is to clear a path for the colonization of space.
Back home in Malibu. I used to surf a lot, Talby. I used to be a great surfer.
Travel in an infinite universe with mind-melting excitement from beyond the stars. Dark Star. They're not lost in space. They're loose.
A world-famous scientist, greatest living master of the occult, has mysteriously vanished. In his place, a huge and fearsome prehistoric monster suddenly appears. What happened to Dr. Waterman? Only one man, last to see him alive, knows. And now he finds himself in deadly peril. The weird, the unbelievable, the supernatural come alive before your very eyes in Equinox. The invisible barrier between good and evil, between light and the forces of darkness. What is the secret of the 1,000-year-old book? See 4 teenage boys and girls fight a devil cult for their lives, their sanity, their eternal souls in Equinox. In supernatural color. Equinox.
Daddy, what's a schlock?
Well, son, a schlock is a beast from 20 million years ago who eats nothing but bananas, milk, chocolate cake, and ice cream.
Is schlock strong?
The strength of 100 full-grown gorillas.
Pretty strong, eh?
Yeah, but the heart of a puppy.
Can we go to see the schlock? Can we go to the zoo, huh?
Schlock isn't at the zoo.
Where is he?
Only in the theater.
It's a movie? Schlock, 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 schlock.
Schlock. Widescreen color rated PG.
This is Count Dracula, and I'm here to offer you a friendly warning. Derek and his guests often get excited, and occasionally this results in revealing key plot points of the movies they're discussing. You know how the children of the night, monster kids can get sometimes. So consider yourself warned. And don't come begging to me to kill them for their transgressions afterward. I have more pressing issues to take care of, like that pesky Van Helsing.
I'm recording, and everything looks like it's going to capture just fine, I hope. Shall we do this? Shall we make what you refer to as magic?
Alien magic, baby. I'm going to hit the record button now.
All right. You good?
I'm good. I was just waiting for you. It's your show.
Oh, okay. I know. Well, I know. I'm waiting for it. Hi. Monster Kid Radio listeners, I know it's been such a long time since you've heard this man on Monster Kid Radio. It feels like it's been weeks since we've had Steve Turek back on the show. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I mean, this is my first time this year on your show, and I'm really happy.
I like that. First time in 2022. There you go.
That's right, man. I'm with the Hall of Famer, Rondo Award-winning, author, podcaster, all around, heck of a nice guy. I'm with Derek M. Cook. What else could you want in life?
Oh, wow. I mean, I'll take it. But wow. Okay. I don't know. You left me flustered, man.
That's okay. Wait till you see the bill.
Oh, man. No, in all seriousness, this is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. The movie that we're talking about today is a movie that Steve has brought up to me a few times over the years. I've always kind of drug my heels a little bit on it. You know, I don't know. It's 1978 and it's not really, but also over the years, I've softened a little bit and I've been less strict when it comes to what I consider the wheelhouse, the years that we use as our guidelines for what movies can be talked about on Monster Kid Radio. And besides, in the end, it's my show. I make the rules. So I finally relented, partly because Steve sent me the movie as a Christmas gift, but I finally relented. And we're going to be talking about The Alien Factor, which, oh man, I had never seen before. My experience with Don Dohler is incredibly small. I don't own any of his films outside of The Alien Factor. I don't think I've seen any of his movies. The only thing that I've seen that's Dohler related is the documentary that came out. Must have been at least 10 years ago now. Blood, Boobs, and Beasts. Is that what it's called?
I believe so. The only thing I've ever seen of Don Dohler's is The Alien Factor, and I saw it in the late 70s, early 80s, and I saw it multiple times on TV.
Well, okay. All right. So you're not going to be able to tell me anything about Don Dohler then? Great.
Well, no, I can talk to you about Don Dohler. I mean, you saw the thing. I do know Don Dohler, and this is why I think it fits with your show. He intended this as a homage to 1950s type science fiction monster movies. Small town
totally
sheriff,
see that.
And that's what his thing was. So this fits in them. It's like the Christopher Mim movies are filmed in current times, but they're always put back in that 1950s era. And this is kind of the same thing, except it's in 1978, but it has the 1950s feel.
Yeah, and it totally fits. And in the end, like I said, it's my show, I decide. So when you sent this to me in the mail, it's like, okay, I guess we finally have to talk about it. But I'm glad we did. We're going to talk about it here in a second, talk about a few other things. But first, I want to hear about what's going on over at Diecast Movie Podcast.
We're doing our James Whale retrospective and interviews and movies decided by the roll of a die. The episode that came out most recently was two of them. One of them was the interview of Beverly Washburn, who you did an episode with about Spider Baby. And of course, we all know she was in that movie, besides a lot of other things. So if people want to get an idea of some of her remembrances of Spider Baby, you can listen to that. And I just had an episode released with The Invisible Man with Joshua Kennedy, who's been on your show multiple times and on my show also. And that's part of the James Whale retrospective. And we do a nice deep dive into that movie and get Josh's impressions on James Whale's work on that masterpiece.
Very cool. And where can people find the podcast?
They can go to Facebook and do Diecast Movie Podcast, and we're listed there. Or you can go to any of your podcast catchers and just put Diecast Movie Podcast in and follow us that way. We also have a Twitter account and that kind of thing. So there's multiple ways you could find us, but pretty much once you find us, just subscribe. You'll get the episodes. And I have 2 interviews I'm going to be doing on Wednesday of this week that are with people that starred in this particular movie. So if you're interested in learning more about the movie, I'll be talking to 2 of the actors that were in it.
Do you want to say who? Can you say who?
Well, I can tell you who. Richard Diesel, who plays the mayor, and George Stover, who plays my favorite character, because his name is Steven.
That's all it takes.
I'm easy that way. You know, favorite players in sports, if their name starts with Steven, they usually rank higher with me. It's I don't know. Just like I'm sure Derek Jeter from baseball is one of your favorite players because of Derek.
I'm sorry, what does he play again?
Plays baseball.
What is that?
Don't worry about it. It's a game played with a ball that's called a baseball.
Oh, sports ball. Sports ball.
Sports ball.
Got it. Okay.
Oh, speaking of sports ball, I have to ask you a question. I'm sure listeners are wondering. Last year we did not do it, but we did it the 2 years prior. Are we going to be doing the Monster Movie Tournament this year?
I don't know. Hadn't really thought about it. Do you want to do it?
Well, I wouldn't have brought it up if I wasn't interested, but it's up to you. It's your show if you want me to do it.
That's a good point.
Oh, no, Derek, I don't want to do it. That's why I brought it up. No, don't do it. No. If listeners are interested in us doing that, give feedback to Derek and we'll go for it and do another round.
Sounds good to me. Right on.
But I got to say, as I say, I really enjoyed your Spider Baby episode. I loved it. And you've been coming out of the year strong. I mean, you're like a lean, mean fighting machine. You're ready for 2022, and you ain't going to take none gruff from it this time. You're going in fighting strong. Go for it, Derek. But pace yourself. Pace yourself. It's only January.
Oh okay. I just hope the Spider Baby episode was worth the wait since it took me so long to put out.
Let's put it this way. It came out quicker than Morbius is. That movie that keeps getting delayed.
Wow. See, I thought you were going to make a crack about the Conan episode. So
it's like a fine wine. Conan will not see the light of day until Derek says it's ready.
Probably ought to get on that, huh?
I'm patient. Well, speaking of Spider Baby, I'm negotiating with Jack Hill to interview him, and we all know what he directed, Spider Baby.
Very cool.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool. That's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to it, man. You came out swinging to begin with, but you've just been really knocking it out of the park, dude. So it's been fun to watch your development as a podcaster and the show kind of evolving, and all these interviews have been fantastic. So that's awesome. I'm proud of you, buddy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You're my inspiration.
Oh,
you know, it really, when I started listening to podcasts, you were the second one I discovered. And I said this many times to you before. It was at a time in my life when things were the darkest, and Monster Kid Radio was there as a beacon of light, showing me hope, bringing me through the darkness with your upbeat positivity and surf music going on all the time. And it got me through. I listened to, I think, like 300 episodes in a few months period, you know, and it was like that beacon that got me through. So thank you. You always have my eternal gratitude for that.
So does that mean I don't have to pay you for all the nice things you said earlier?
No, you never had to pay me. That was a joke.
Happy to be here, man. And I've really enjoyed what you've done. So listeners, check it out. I'll make sure there's links in the show notes, but every time I ask Steve, where can people find it? He never gives me a website. He just says, it's all over. So I'll try to find a few links for the website for the Diecast movie podcast and put that in the show notes over at monsterkidradio.net. I think probably because you stream or you host your website over at anchor.fm, that might be the most direct way to go outside of the Facebook or social media presence. Is that right?
That's right. And I don't have an official web page. That's why I can never give you a web page.
I'm just teasing now. Okay. All right, so we can sit here and continue to tease each other, or we can get on with the rest of the show with a round of the game that if I don't play with Steve, I'm going to hear about it for months. It is the Classic Five.
The Classic Five. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Pinch me. Pinch me. It's a dream.
The Classic Five is a game that we play on every episode of Monster Kid Radio for the most part, where I have a deck of cards. Each card has a this or that, which movie do you prefer style question on them. There are no wrong answers. It's just a way to get Monster Kids talking, get to know each other a little bit better, that sort of thing. And in February, probably toward the end of the month, new deck. Already in the works. Stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, we're going to go through some questions with Steve Turek. Steve, are you ready to play a round of the Classic Five?
Bring it on, Mr. Cook.
Question number 1. What is your favorite Aliens Invade the Earth movie?
Favorite Aliens Invade the Earth movie? And we're talking the classic movies from 1968 or prior.
Pretty much.
Body Snatchers. The Body Snatchers. Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Stop! Will you tell these fools I'm not crazy? Make them listen to me before it's too late! Listen to me. Please listen. If you don't, if you won't, if you fail to understand, then the same incredible terror that's menacing me will strike at you!
I mean, really, it's a classic with the social consciousness, in my opinion, the ending where you just know humanity's not going to get through it. It's like a 70s downer ending before the 70s. Of course, redone in the 70s, which is also an excellent version of the film. So you have two excellent versions of the film out there. I mean, you can't go wrong with either one. I enjoyed it. It's a story, a tale as old as time.
Question number 2. Favorite classic alien design?
Favorite classic alien design? Oh, that's a good one. So I'm going to keep it with aliens. I'm not going to count any of the androids or the robots. Does it have to be aliens that came to the planet Earth, or could it be aliens?
No.
Oh, then the Id Monster.
The Id Monster. Wow.
Forbidden Planet.
Okay.
Even though you only see it for a few seconds, when I saw that movie as a boy, that movie scared the living crap out of me. I mean, because an invisible monster, it was going through everybody. It was unstoppable. And then when you finally saw the energy being type creature that it was. It was terrifying. That's etched in my mind as a young lad seeing that movie. So for me, the id monster, yeah, it scared the living it out of me. I mean, what do you think? What's your favorite?
I'm sorry, I wasn't expecting. I don't know why that hit me.
I think I broke Derek. I broke Derek. I'm sorry, listeners. What's your scariest? What's your scariest alien monster?
I really like. Okay, so I've got two. I like the War of the Worlds, Martians, and Metaluna mutants are amazing. So I'd say one of those.
I'm not going to argue that. Yeah, those are awesome. Also, there's a lot of runner-ups. I mean, but it's just if I had to go with the one that scared me the most, that's the one that scared me the most.
That was question 2?
That was question 2.
Well, let's get to question 3 then. Which movie do you prefer? It, the Thing from Outer Space, or It, the Thing from Beyond Space, or The Terror from Beyond Space?
I'm going to go with It, the Terror from Beyond Space.
How could that thing have gotten aboard? And why? Just to kill us?
There's the usual reason an intelligent creature kills.
It's hungry? What makes you so certain it's intelligent, Colonel? Not just an animal.
It opened the door to C compartment.
In the silent void of outer space, puny man matches his cunning against a monster from Mars running rampant, howling for all the flesh and blood on Earth.
Wow. Is there a particular reason why that one edges over the, or overtakes It, the Thing from Another World?
I like the design better. I think it's a better design. Now, we're not talking about the movies. We're just talking about creature design. So I like that creature design.
Okay.
It's to me, it's superior. The one from the Thing for the Thing from Another World, it doesn't do as much for me.
Looks like a giant carrot. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, and I've heard that levied against that film quite a bit, actually, that it's a good film until you get to the monster. Now, I'm down with the monster, whatever. I don't have a problem with it. But I totally understand where people are coming from when they say that. But I think you're right. The monster design from It, the Terror from Beyond Space, is better. Even though the head, the mask, doesn't fit the actor, it still kind of works. His chin sticking out of the mouth really could just be like a tongue or an extra lip or whatever. It doesn't matter. It looks great.
Yeah. You can remember, if you're not watching the still shot of it, you just watch it in the flow of the movie. Yep. It works great. I think what a lot of people do, good or bad, is with the ability to freeze frame things and expand it, and then you're able to look, and especially when things are now in better quality pictures than you ever would have saw back in the film back in the day, and when it was released. You can see the lines and the zippers or whatever, but it was never meant to be the scene that way. So I always try to take these things in the context of how they were meant to be. So avoiding the freeze framing and things like that, I like the design. It works with the movie.
Okay, fair enough. Question number 4. Aliens are attacking right now. Who do you want to have save us? John Agar or Richard Carlson?
Ooh, John Agar or Richard Carlson. Aliens are attacking us. I want John Wayne.
Okay.
Can you imagine John Wayne fighting aliens?
Oh, man.
Instead of Harrison Ford in Cowboys versus Aliens, it's the Duke, John Wayne. You get out of here, you alien pilgrims. It's
wow.
There's just something about the Duke showing up, and with Walter Brennan and the rest of them coming in riding those horses. John Carradine, because he was in Stagecoach with the Duke. I mean, you can get a who's who of actors in the genre work going with him. I mean, Vincent Price was in a Western, so I mean, you could really have a cowboy gang. I'm on to something.
If that's what you're going to go with, I'll give it to you because some of John Agar's earliest films were with John Wayne.
That's right. That's why I went with it, Pilgrim.
All right.
If I was to go with that, it would have to be John Agar because he'd be backed up with John Wayne, and all the rest. So John Agar, out of the two, I'd pick John Agar because I would see it as a Cowboys versus Aliens type thing, and bring in John Agar with the Gatling gun. just mowing them down.
Okay.
Could you imagine? He's got like piece of branch or not straw gritted in his teeth, and he's just like taking out the alien scum in his mind. That would be great.
And finally, favorite alien spaceship design from a classic monster movie.
Ooh. And now we're talking classic. It has to be a movie, you said. Okay.
Well, I was going for movie, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. That is a good one. This is a tough one because there's several of them that are popping into my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think now. There's the alien design. I like the alien spaceship design in Forbidden Planet. I like the alien design in War of the Worlds. Earth versus the Flying Saucers. I'm going to go with War of the Worlds.
Okay.
I'm considering the spaceship to be the craft that the aliens are in, the pods attacking the planet.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if they're actually spaceships or not. I'm going to count it as that if that's okay with you.
Yeah, of course.
The image of them coming, George Powell did such a great job with that movie. And I just seeing them move along the earth. I mean, oh, come on. I mean, you can't get much better than that.
It's an iconic image. Yeah, just those. Oh, whoa, it's good stuff.
If you would have said any type of alien design in the classic era, I would have went with the Starship Enterprise.
Oh, see, now you're playing. Now you're playing to your audience. I'm
playing to myself.
Yeah, okay. I've had a mad on for Star Trek for a while lately. So, yeah. All right. Well, that is the Classic Five. Some good answers, some great answers. I hope you had a great time, Steve.
I did. It was very alien-centric.
I did that on purpose, sir, because we're talking about a movie that has alien in the title. We're talking about the movie The Alien Factor from 1978, and I did not find a decent trailer, so I'm not going to put it in here. Let's just keep talking. This was a first-time watch for me, like I said, at the very top of all of this. But I know this is something that you have had very fond thoughts and memories about for a long time. How did you first see this movie?
I'm not sure when it got to TV.
Okay.
Because it came out in 78. So it could have been 79, it could have been 80. The early 80s, this movie was constantly being run on different TV networks in the packages. And I just remember watching it several times growing up in the early 80s. And it was a good movie. You got to also remember, I think I might have actually seen it in the movie theater when I was younger with my brother because it was filmed in Maryland and it was in a lot of different movie theaters in Maryland at the time. So I might have saw it when I was 9 years old with my eldest brother, Rick. So I think I did see it in the movie theater. I know I saw it later in life. I saw it several years ago. They had this science fiction club locally, and they had a theater showing of the Alien Factor, the restored edition of it. So I got to see that one. But so I've seen it probably 10, 12 times, most of them when I was younger, but a few times since I've been older. And I enjoy it. It's like I said, reminiscent of the science fiction movies of the 50s. And it had a good feel. I enjoyed it because it has multiple aliens or monsters or creatures. I think it has an interesting plot, and it was nice to go into when I'm watching on TV. If you're flicking the channels and you already missed the beginning of it because you saw it already, you can hop right in and enjoy the parts because you know it's coming up.
As I said earlier, I had no experience with this film at all going into it. I knew of the title. I knew the title before Steve started mentioning it to me, in various conversations over the years, and I don't know if it's because I had seen that documentary that I mentioned a little while ago, or if I actually saw like the VHS cover of it at the video store. Because as a film geek growing up, in small town Cheyenne, Wyoming, what do? You work at a video store. And I worked at a Blockbuster Video for 2 years, and I'm pretty sure I saw this in the store. Never watched it, never really bothered with it, not sure why. It seems like the kind of movie I would have been drawn to. I would have gravitated towards something like this. But again, I have no idea why I didn't see it until now.
Well, I will say the cover art or the poster art doesn't really do it the movie justice. It's
No.
definitely, I mean, Mark Maddox can come up with a lot better poster art than we got with this.
Yeah.
Mark Maddox could do better art than this on a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that might have been what turned you off, because back then, you know as well as I do, when you're walking in the video store and you're going through the plethora of movies that they had, the cover art's what drew you in. If you didn't like the cover art, you didn't read the back cover, and so it was almost like when you were going book shopping. That cover art was what made you pick up that book or DVD, or not DVD, but video cassette, to look at it and read the back to see, are you interested in this? And if that cover art was really good, you were going to get it. And of course, we know from experience, a lot of times the cover art was bait and switch.
Oh, well, that was the MO, right? And I ran into that. Video stores were my outlet when it came to this kind of thing, right? So I would go to the video stores even before I started working at Blockbuster Video with my parents. The thing was, one of the things that we would do before Blockbuster even came to town is we would go to the Video USA, which was in the same shopping area as a Kmart. Just mentioned two businesses that don't exist anymore. And we go to the Video USA and we just look at all the videotapes. And I have mentioned on the show before that I knew the story of the classic movies long before I saw them because I read about them in those Crestwood House books. Well, as a kid that wasn't allowed to see R-rated movies, of course, when I didn't think my parents were watching me, I would go over to the horror section and look at all the horror movie boxes. And because of that, I knew the story of Friday the 13th because I read it on the back of the video boxes. I knew the Nightmare on Elm Street stories because I read it on the back of the video boxes. So I knew them before I even saw the films. And again, I don't know if this is just something that I missed or what. I do appreciate that on the DVD, the behind the scenes or I forget what he calls it, but George Silver hosts a number of short subjects involving the history and legacy of this film, and they do show not just the VHS cover, but a cover for the beta tape. And our household was a beta machine household, so just seeing that, even though I never saw this movie on beta or anything, just gave me an instant charge of nostalgia. Like, oh, beta tapes, I remember those. My dad was an idiot for buying a beta machine instead of a VHS, but whatever.
I have the movie on Blu-ray. And I was going to get you the Blu-ray, but the Blu-ray now is, I think, in the aftermarket. The DVD is still not. So the price of it has gone up. And as you know, like a lot of things, it has that limited print run. And then once it's out, and once it's through, it's crazy prices that I really wouldn't pay for it. And that kind of thing. But I saw that the DVD had the same bonus features, and I figured, it couldn't be that far different than the quality.
Yeah.
But
with a release like this, I can't imagine that upscaling it to Blu-ray, you're going to see much more. It might even look a little worse. And that's something that I've learned over the years too, watching a lot of these lower budget efforts. If they don't get the time and attention and money to do a proper restoration, you're going to see a lot more of the flaws, because film, especially amateur films like this, very forgiving when it comes to seeing the zippers or the seams or the fishing lines. And then you Blu-ray it, and I just use Blu-ray as a verb, okay? You put it on Blu-ray and suddenly you can see everything. So
I will say this with the copies that are on DVD and the Blu-ray, Britt McDonough, who is the cinematographer, has an Amazon comment in the comment section, and he said that this is the best versions out there, that's really made it a lot better than what we used to see on TV. And having seen the old TV ones and comparing it, the copy I have now is much crisper, nicer, and in quality.
Wow.
It's not perfect, but it's way better than I used to see that I remember seeing growing up. So yeah, it is a better copy.
Right on. Now, and you've mentioned this a few times, and it's mentioned on the DVD that this got a lot of TV play, but nowhere near me. This is another one of those situations where my childhood was missing out because I did not have a horror host. I did not have TV stations like this that would play things like this late into the middle of the night. I didn't have any of that. So I didn't have an opportunity to see things like this. So again, just having an opportunity to watch it kind of fills in a lot of those blanks for me. And that makes me really happy.
And the funny thing you mentioned of horror hosts and that Count Gordival, who was, I lived in Baltimore City, so there was 2 horror hosts. There was the one on Channel 45 and the one on Channel 20.
Right.
But Channel 20 was a DC station. In order to get that night feature, I'd have to get the antennas the right way with the aluminum foil and hope it wasn't a thunder shower going on, a thunderstorm going on, in order to get the movie. And you look at the TV guide and say, okay, which movie am I going to watch tonight? And Channel 20 with Count Gordival, who is Richard Diesel, who's in the movie as the mayor, and that kind of thing. You get to pick him up. Of course, I didn't know at the time that the Count and the mayor were the same guy. Because the makeup, the voice being different, that kind of stuff. And I was a child.
And age. I mean, nowadays, I was watching because I knew Richard Diesel was in the movie, and I was watching for him, and it took 2 or 3 scenes with the mayor for me to realize, oh wait, that's the guy. I'm not casting aspersions about how old the man is or whatever, but it's been, 50 years at this point, 40 years at this point?
Let's see, 44 years.
Yeah.
Well, I do know what he said in the bonus features. He was scared as all get out about remembering his lines. Because when he played the Count, he was ad-libbing. So he didn't have to remember the lines because it was filmed live, it was ad-libbed. And in this one, he had to have certain dialogue said and that kind of stuff. So it was, he said he was like scared because here he was, he was used to being in front of a camera. He was used to doing this and that, but he had to remember his dialogue.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of these actors are doing it for the first time. A lot of them were friends of Don Dohler's or people that have worked with him at Cinemagic. And so the acting
is what, Steve?
It's all over the place in ability.
Man, okay. I'm not
as it is with a lot of low budget movies.
Okay. No, I'm not going to go there yet. Let's keep talking about the film. Because in the end, it was an enjoyable watch. So we'll keep talking about the movie. The story itself, once everything is kind of explained, kind of interesting. I would even go as far as saying pretty novel in some regards. I don't recall seeing anything quite like that before.
I enjoyed it. I thought at the time it came out, which was after Star Wars.
But it was shot before Star Wars, wasn't it? It was shot in 76, according to some of the sources I've seen.
You could tell there's some influences there from movies of that time, maybe Close Encounters, or things like that. But it was just, I enjoyed it, and you could definitely tell some aspects of Jaws influenced some of the script.
I was going to comment on that recently in the Monster Kid Movie Club stream, I brought up in the Twitch chat, what are some movies you'd like to see people, see us talk about on the show this year? And a lot of those animals attack movies came up. Grizzly, Frogs, Night of the Lepus, things like that. And after that conversation, and then watching this, which I watched last night after I got home from Scream 5,
what a double feature.
Yeah, very, very interesting double feature. As I was watching this, I kept thinking, this really kind of follows that model, that it's not just aliens, it's not just a sci-fi monster movie. You could look at this as a little bit of an animals attack kind of thing. And I thought that was kind of clever too.
I thought so. And that's why I enjoyed it. And again, it was set up in a small area, and the mayor wanted to keep the publicity because he was trying to get the amusement park deal.
Yep.
And that kind of stuff. So you had the mayor, no, let's not make a big fuss of this and that kind of stuff. But unlike other movies, the mayor changes his tune and does agree there is a problem, and then things happen to the mayor.
Things happen to the mayor.
Just saying, unlike other movies where nothing really happens to the mayor except that he keeps the protagonist from doing certain things. In this movie, I think you start off thinking it's going to be the sheriff is going to be the main protagonist, Sheriff Cinder, and it switches to Ben Zachary, who comes in about a third of the way into the movie.
Yeah.
And from that point on, he's the protagonist. But it's kind of interesting. I like it because it keeps things moving and going along. There are some parts of the movie where there is some padding.
Yeah.
I know the motorcycle thing was put in there because they had to add extra time. I remember researching that, and they had to add extra time, so they filmed the guy on the motorcycle. So that whole motorcycle scene was something they did later on because they needed extra time to get to 80 minutes or whatever. I don't know what the deal was, the situation, because they were releasing the film themselves, but I guess to make it to get it with the theaters, they needed a certain running time.
Sure. Okay. Well, that makes sense. I would wonder too a lot about the story construction here. This was a very amateur production. I'd be shocked if people got paid much at all, if anything, on this production. So, having tried to make movies when I was a kid, when I thought I was going to be a filmmaker when I grew up, I have had experiences where I was shooting movies with my friends, and then there was a massive falling out between me and one of my lead actors. The movie wasn't finished. He was our villain. And I had to quickly come up with a workaround and rewrite and rearrange things to make it work, despite the fact that he wasn't there anymore. And I wonder if part of the construction of this story has to do with, well, this guy's done doing this for free. We can't use him anymore because he doesn't want to do it anymore because we're not paying him. Let's make this guy the lead, So I wonder if part of it was that. I don't know if it's the case or not, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing that if it was, that's what happened, whatever, it still works. In the end, that's all we have to look at, The
reason I don't think so is because Tom Griffith, who played Sheriff Cinder, worked in Cinemagic, and they wrote the role for him. So he was getting paid at the magazine.
Okay.
For the magazine he was doing or whatever he was doing there. There's so many other scenes he's in the movie with. And I know in the behind the scenes things, I don't remember with the interviews and other stuff and things I've read where he had an issue with it or had that problem.
Okay.
I think that was in the script with it. And for listeners wondering, the budget on Wikipedia has this at $3,500. In the behind the scenes features, Don Dohler was being interviewed for a local news station in the Maryland area, and they put that in the bonus features. And he was asked how much the movie cost, and he said it cost $50,000 at that time because the movie hadn't been released yet; it was about to be released. And he said it's going to be. He still has to pay the actors and the lawyers, and it'll probably be close to $100,000. So he was going to release it, and the money he got back from during the release was going to pay the rest of the people. So the budget was closer to $100,000.
Okay. Well,
it's a pretty good amount of money. I mean, I'm sure. Joshua Kennedy would kill to have $100,000 budget.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah.
I didn't hear any of the actors saying they didn't get paid. And so I think people did. I don't think they got paid a lot. None of them were professional movie actors, really. Except for George Stover was in some stuff for John Waters around that time, and some early things. So it's just kind of, so some of them were doing some movies, but that wasn't their full-time gig. They had full-time paying jobs and were doing this on the side.
Sure, which is, again, pretty typical of amateur DIY stuff. And I mentioned this on the show where I was talking about how we're going to be talking about this movie this week, that it's a very DIY effort. It's a regional thing. I'm fascinated with this idea of regional filmmaking. And when I say that, what I'm describing, it doesn't really exist anymore. I mean, I guess it kind of does, but not to the same extent, where people were realizing, especially low-budget genre filmmakers were realizing, you don't have to go to Hollywood to make a movie. Maybe you should in some cases, but you don't have to go to Hollywood to make a movie. So you end up with movies like this. You end up with movies like Manos, The Hands of Fate. You end up with movies like The Evil Dead. These are what's sometimes referred to as regional films or regional filmmaking. And I am fascinated by this idea that these films, influenced by Hollywood, obviously, but created outside of the Hollywood system, The Evil Dead being probably the most well-known and most successful of the batch. But you have movies like this. You have movies like Zat, shot down in Florida. And I find it amazing and fascinating, and I could do a deep dive on this stuff.
I'm surprised you haven't mentioned the most famous of them all.
Oh no. What'd I miss?
Night of the Living Dead.
Now see, I wonder if you would consider that regional filmmaking at that point. I wonder.
I do, because it was filmed off in Pittsburgh.
I know it was all shot up there, and they were
shoestring budget.
Filmmakers. Yeah. But they kind of knew what they were doing. Whereas I feel like the earmark of most regional films or filmmaking are people who are figuring it out as they go.
Oh, I understand what you're saying there. I'm just saying.
But you're right. No, you're right. You could totally include Night of the Living Dead in that. You're absolutely right. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I think Night of the Living Dead was the one where a lot of people look at. And then, of course, in the more recent years, you can look at the Blair Witch Project, also a Maryland project.
You can look at Blair Witch. You can look at how Robert Rodriguez got his start with El Mariachi, that kind of stuff. But once you start moving more into the modern era, you have the ability for people to use the same kind of equipment that they had in Hollywood. Whereas back then, you're dealing with people that have, a whole movie camera. And I love that aesthetic so much. Being somebody, I thought he was going to be a filmmaker when he grew up. I respond to it in such a visceral way that this movie really thrilled me. Eventually. I struggled with this, Steve.
What film do you think they used? What type of film to film this?
I'm guessing it was 16 of some sorts.
It was 16 millimeter, which they blew up to 35.
Okay. It does have a 16 millimeter fill. That's it. It has a 16 millimeter texture. And I could see, being blown up to 35 for distribution. Sure. I said I watched this last night after I got home from Scream. It wasn't the first time I tried to watch it. I tried watching it last week, and Steve, I had to turn it off. I was like, what is this? Why did Steve tell me I'm going to love this movie? I don't
know. I said you were going to enjoy this more than Conan the Destroyer.
Oh, no, sir. I think I'm going to pull up my Facebook messages now. Because
no, I'm talking about what I told you verbally. I think I did tell you way back when we were first talking about this. I said, you're going to love this movie because it's like it's a monster kid type movie.
Let's see.
If you compare this to Manos to Hands of Fate, I'm taking this movie way over Manos to Hands of Fate. I'm sorry.
I'm pretty sure you told me I am going to love it. Yep, right here.
I probably did, but
you are going to love this one, you said. And I'm sitting here and I'm watching it and I'm thinking, Steve, the acting in Manos the Hands of Fate is 10 times better. I don't understand. So I stopped. I was like, I have to stop now, reconsider my approach, come back to it, because I don't want to be negative on the show. I'm glad I came back to it because I don't know if I needed a palate cleanser. Not that Scream was a palate cleanser, but I don't know if I needed a palate cleanser or what, because when I put it in for the second time, I enjoyed the heck out of it. And I'm not sure why. I don't know what caused that to happen, but it did. So I was kind of angry with you there for a short period of time the other day. It's like, Steve's going to make me find something I'm not going to like this one. But I take back everything I said under my breath about you.
That's okay. I've been told worse. I have 2 older brothers. So I'm used to being.
One of the things that I loved about it were the alien, the monster design. I
knew you had to love the alien.
Oh, yeah, you have to, especially in this case, because you've got monsters, you've got aliens where they have distorted the human form. Yes, it's still humanoid, but they are 7 feet tall. Is the sculpt amazing? Mitch Gonzalez does better over the Mimverse, But they still look kind of neat. And he's 7 feet tall.
You're talking about the Zagatile.
Yeah,
he's
7 feet tall. That's cool.
Awesome.
That they were able to figure out a way on their budget with their level of experience to create an alien with stilt legs, basically. And it doesn't look like he's wearing stilts. It looks natural. The feet themselves are cool. I loved that.
John Constantino was the one who designed it. Runs a carpet company, or at least he did, in Detroit.
Okay.
And spent 3 or 4 months designing it, like Mitch does his stuff after work, on weekends, whatever, and making the Zagatale. He also played the Zagatale in the movie.
Okay.
But it's interesting because he had the stilts and everything else in it, and could walk around, and he doesn't look like he was that tall of a guy normally, so he was really off the ground pretty high to do it. And I think it worked rather well. I mean, remember, it's 1978. You have a small budget. I think the creature does well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have absolutely no complaints whatsoever. I thought it looked really cool. And to show that it wasn't just something they threw together for a few scenes, it comes out on the set of Count Gordeval's show. It is walking. It is moving. This is a full-on costume. This isn't just something kind of duct taped to somebody. It looks really cool. I was really very happy with that. Thought it looked great.
And that's probably the most prominent of all the alien creatures. The one in the movie. It has basement scene, has outdoor scenes, multiple outdoor scenes.
Yeah.
And I thought, so yeah, it's definitely the one they feature the most. What did you think about the Infrabite, the insect creature? That was designed by Larry Schlechter.
I thought they were okay. I mean, the star of the show were the big dudes. But it was okay. I mean, the other ones were good. But my takeaway is going to be the big guy. What about you?
I love the big guy. I also like the Lemoide, who was designed by Ernie Oren. That's, of course, the stop motion type creature. That's the energy creature that you see show up that he fights. I enjoy the creature. The fight itself is bizarre.
A little.
In some ways. I mean, basically the creature just falls over and dies. And you don't know why. But you do know that was not the first Lemoide design. Did the DVD have the deleted scene where it has the original Lemoide?
It does. I didn't get a chance to watch it yet, though, because I just was running out of time. I am going to go back and watch it, though, which probably tells you a little bit more about how I feel about the movie.
Britt McDonough designed the original one.
Okay.
I like it. I like both of them. I mean, some people like one more than the other, according to behind-the-scenes type stuff. But that was the first one they filmed, and they had it timed in. And the other one, I think, was more of a rush. They didn't. Don Dohler didn't like that creature design as much.
Is that what?
So he had somebody else.
Was that the reason why they redid it? He just didn't like it.
Yeah, they didn't think it was good enough or whatever. It's like anything, I mean, everybody has their different opinion. Like we were talking about earlier, cost alien creature design.
Sure.
Everybody has a different opinion. It's like art. That's really what it is. The creature design is artwork. And as you brought up with Mitch Gonzalez, some people just have that talent to take that and make that artistic form, and you just love it. You want to get a mask of it. You want to get a little action figure or a statue of a lot of those designs that you really appreciate because they're just appealing in a weird way. I mean, in some way, it's just that's a fantastical type creature. Ray Harryhausen's designs. I mean, come on, there's some of them that are just breathtaking.
Yeah, you're not going to get any arguments from me. Now, is this breathtaking? No. I mean, you can tell.
This isn't Ray Harryhausen.
It's handmade. It's hand-stitched. You can tell. But that they were able to come up with an alien that wasn't just a guy in a suit that looked like a guy in the suit. They had a guy on stilts, for crying out loud. They changed the shape of the feet, and they're functional. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that alone had me.
There's 2 other aliens, but I mean, 5 alien designs. Almost all of them are bipedal, except for the stop motion one. And so you stop motion alien, you have people in alien costumes, because there's the heroic alien who it wasn't labeled in the movie at the end, but I think they called him the Inner Man, and you could tell what the guy did. If you look at that alien design, it's basically like the skin layers. If you take the flesh off of us and you look at the skin, the muscle tissue, that's what they designed that costume from. So they called it the Inner Man, I believe, in the bonus scene.
Okay.
Bonus feature.
Sure.
And I like that. I like that design of that chest. That chest was an awesome design.
Yeah.
And arms. The head, you know, was okay, but the rest of it was really strong.
Yeah, I think if there's a weak point, it's like it's the faces. But yeah, the rest of it's just super solid work. And that had me. That I saw that in a new light. Yeah, you know, after having slept, you know, I don't know what my deal was. Maybe my blood sugar was low that day. I don't know.
And that's why I told you you would love this movie, because I was thinking about the creatures.
Mm-hmm.
You have 5 different aliens or alien creatures in it. I mean, one of them is in a small scene laying on the ground already because it's dying. It was the caretaker of the spaceship that crashed with the 3 alien creatures that were going to be specimens to go back to the heroic aliens' home planet for them to study. And that's what led to them crashing on Earth. And, of course, the heroic alien came to take care of these alien creatures.
And speaking of the spaceship that crashed, I loved the use of miniatures. The way they did that, where they had a model of the spaceship that had crashed, and they put it in the extreme foreground, and then had their 2 actors, you know, way in the background. But because of how film works, and they were able to do this, they made it look like it was all on the same plane, and they had this massive spaceship that had crashed that these 2 characters are walking to. Brilliant. I loved that so much. And man, those are the kind of tricks that I miss. I know that you can do so much with CG these days. I really do. And that's great. The tools are amazing. But man, to do it like that, that's just cool.
You just saw it. I've seen it many times. I think that effect is seamless.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that effect holds up with all the films. I mean, you can argue about certain things, the creature costumes or this and that with other things, but that model effect, it is just spot on. I mean, that was excellent cinematography by, you know, Britt McDonough and also Don Dohler to get that shot set up in the model. I forgot who made the model. The model's still out there. Somebody still has the model.
Oh, nice. That's great. Yeah, I loved it, man. I thought that's fantastic. That's the kind of filmmaking that, you know, I read about growing up as a kid. That's what made me want to make movies. All of that. Just seeing that happen was just, it blew my mind, man. Well, this is how it's supposed to be.
Speaking of alien spacecraft, what did you think of the miniature for the heroic alien ship? We only saw it for a few seconds, but I really enjoyed the design and the effects of that miniature.
Oh, yeah. The miniature work in this is great. And see, I would so recommend that people that are interested in independent, low-budget filmmaking, if you want to be a filmmaker, watch stuff like this. Sure, you can buy your After Effects and do your computer work, and easier and easier to do that. But watch stuff like this. These are models. These are toys. These are things the size of childhood toys that they make into spaceships. And it's amazing. Oh, so good.
You're not getting an argument for me. Like I said, those effects are just excellent. Excellent. You know, those miniature effects and how they filmed it and everything, it just blends right in and it just works so well.
Yeah, I agree. Now,
and they even had the special effect with the energy or whatever, the transference effect. And considering the amount of money they had in 1978, I thought that effect was good.
You've mentioned Cinemagic a few times. What is Cinemagic? Because it sounds like something that has to do with like special effects, and that's basically what it is, right?
Well, Cinematic Visual Effects was the company that distributed this. It was also Cinemagic was a magazine. If I remember correctly, it ran for 11 issues. A lot of filmmakers fell in love or started their career because of Cinemagic. For instance, like J.J. Abrams, Tom Sullivan, said their careers were inspired as young filmmakers. And eventually Starlog in 1979 bought Cinemagic and took it over.
I find it so...
But Don Dohler started it.
I find it so fascinating that here's this guy who is in the middle of Maryland, the furthest away from California you can probably get, inspiring this round of filmmakers, this crop of filmmakers like J.J. Abrams. Just, wow. How cool is that? And I'm betting that he probably showed you how to do the effects from the Alien Factor in the magazine.
If he didn't do it in that one, he had other magazines that he did, or books, like Film Magic, The Fantastic Guides to Special Effects Filmmaking, which came out in 1979, and a 2-volume stop-motion animation, a complete step-by-step guide in 1980. So he was a publisher at heart, and he was a director because of happenstance, because he had to be. See, directing wasn't his first love. It was publishing.
Yeah, I had read that he just, as soon as he was finally able to get out of directing, he did. He found somebody else to direct while he produced and edited. He loved editing as well, from what I understand.
It showed because the success of that one magazine, to be bought by Starlog. I mean, you start off, it's like a lot of small companies will start off and they start hitting the big time and start making money, and then a bigger company will sometimes be like, oh, we'll give you yay amount of money to take your property, and have that intellectual property and take control of it. And you could look at it one of two ways. You could keep your company and keep it going, or you can turn it, sell it to that one and start something else up, which is what he opted for. And there's nothing wrong with either option. I know some people like to keep control of their babies, and other people are looking at it as, this was my startup. I got it going. Okay, now I sold it. I made a profit for yay amount of work. Now I can start to seed my other ideas and things like that, which is what he did. And that's probably some of the money that went into this film.
Yeah.
Because this film came out in 1978, but it probably helped him with other films that he did and other projects.
Yeah. So good for him.
And I don't know how much money this movie made when it was released, but with the TV money it made afterwards, still safe to say it did make a profit of how much. I mean, I don't know. It was at the most $100,000 budget. I think it probably made, with the TV distribution and other stuff, you're probably talking maybe a couple of million to $3 million at least. I'm guessing, because it was in the movie. It was being run on TV stations all over the area, including TBS, throughout the early 80s to mid to late 80s.
Well, it's a good find for Monster Kid Radio. I'm so glad you brought it to the table, because I really enjoyed it. I will go back and I will be rewatching this film for sure. No question there. And I will be exploring the special features a little bit more. I just ran out of time, and I wanted to make sure that, I at least got the movie in, especially since I had that false start.
To me, it's 80 minutes long.
Uh-huh.
And I think 60 minutes of it are really good, and there's 20 minutes of padding. I mean, to be honest, there's some scenes that I could just feel are padded on.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I mean, it really works well. For listeners wondering what the plot is, pretty much an alien ship crashes. We don't see it crash. We find this all out later on, but an alien ship crashes. 3 creatures come out. They're terrorizing a small Maryland town as a sheriff and a deputy. It's killing people because the alien creatures are just, attack whatever's there because they're confused. They're not on their home planet, that kind of stuff, which I do like. With 2 of the creatures, it just says they're like wild animals in a different habitat, and they're just scared and attacking anything that comes near them.
Yep.
And only one of them was labeled as malicious, which was the boss creature for the end, the energy creature.
Yeah.
And of course, the heroic alien comes to find the creatures and take care of them. Ben Zachary shows up at the town, like we said, a third of the way through, and he comes to help them out. He has a mysterious background and helps the sheriff and all them try to figure out what's going on. He likes to work alone, and he comes up with inventive ways to take out the various creatures. That's pretty much the movie.
Pretty much.
I'm not going to say how it ends, but it does have an end familiar to some other movies that we just mentioned that were also independent films.
The acting is really rough. In some spots, it's just flat out terrible. I'll just tell you right now, if you haven't seen this movie and you're curious about it, know that you're in for a very bumpy ride when it comes to the acting. However, I think it's something that you can pretty easily overcome pretty quickly when you start to see some of the other charms that this movie has. So I'll just put that out there. I mean, I think that's probably safe to say, right? I mean, the acting's pretty rough in spots.
Well, I said it's spotty.
Yeah, it's
spotty. And when I found that from listening to when they talked about the cast people where they were like when the DVD Blu-ray came out, which was like about 7 years ago, they were catching up with the surviving members. and people were saying how they got involved. And like I said, the guy who played the sheriff, Tom Griffith, was working at the magazine, and he said, "Oh, we wrote a part for you. Do you want to do this?" And suddenly he's doing that. You're getting non-professionals or people that were very young that were doing some local theater, and this was their first movie. It's there. Some of them, like I said, do better than others and are able to do it. And also, you have a guy writing his first script, doing his first directing. The cinematographer, this was his first and only film. So you have a lot of those first hitting. So it does make it kind of difficult. I look at this as a true cult classic.
Again, I keep going back to the first view that I had of it. My first viewing, I thought the only reason Steve likes this is because it's from Maryland and so is he. And I'm sure that was part of the draw for the area. Sure. And part of the charm, but really there's so much more to it than that. The acting and some of the pacing editing choices, I have no idea what was going on there, but it's still really good. I'm really happy to have watched this. I'm glad I gave it that second chance. I don't know what was on. I don't know if I was just, it must have been a blood sugar thing. I'll blame my diabetes. Okay. That's what it was.
But Derek, I have one question to ask you.
Oh no. What's up?
What did you think of the music?
Okay, it was very low budget. I was.
Tell us how you really feel, Derek. Don't hold back.
I don't think the movie's strength was with the soundtrack. Either the score or the rock band they had playing in that one scene. I don't think that's where the movie thrives.
I think that rock band would totally fit in for a group that would play at a dive that it was playing at.
Maybe. Yeah.
That would be the talent level you would expect. Now, is that the talent level you would put in a movie? No. But it was a talent level you would expect to see at a dive that's,
yeah.
And
that's fair.
So I think if you look at it in continuity, I can give it a pass that way. But yeah, the music is, I'm not buying the CD if there is one. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, hard pass there, buddy. Yeah, the music, not so great. And, some of the optical effects, not so great. They haven't really aged very well, but, it's an artifact of the time. So enjoy it. Have fun with it. It's really easy to do and have fun with it.
Because this movie is about as old as you.
I'd like to think I've aged better.
I think you have. I'm just saying, I'm way older than this movie. I'm almost 10 years older than the movie. So you're about this movie's age.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You're a young little pup.
So the movie is still available. Is that right?
It's available. The DVD is available for a reasonable price. It was below $20. I think it's also available on Amazon Prime for a small rental fee. So, and if you look at different streaming services, I mean, for a while there, it was available free on Amazon. You and I were going to do this a few years ago when it was on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
And then it left. So, I mean, as everybody knows, the streaming services, these things move around and sometimes it comes back. So if you're paying attention to it, if you can get on a streaming service and you're not paying anything, stick it in. I mean, just give it a chance. Once you get to the Zagatale, the Tog monster, you're home free. It's once because the action starts picking up.
Yeah,
it's got the story set up. It's ready to go. There's very, very little gore.
Yeah, there's a little bit of blood, but it's so incidental. I've seen more blood in modern wrestling matches. I'll just say that. It's so little.
Yeah, it fits like the 1950s perspective, and it's one of those
right down to the sexism.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, but the town doctor is a female. So
I know, but
a little different.
When the three guys are out looking for the animal that hurt their buddy, and they've got the woman along, and I still don't understand why she's with us. I go, okay.
Well, they didn't give her a gun.
That's well, that too. Weird, that too.
Oh yeah, let's go out hunting. But you don't need a gun. Just, I think her name was Susan. Susan, just stay between us, and you'll be safe. Let's put it this way: 4 go into the woods, but only 1 comes back.
Yeah, and can you guess which one it is? Listeners, can you guess? Yeah.
Yeah, can you guess? I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it when I was growing up. I mean, it has good memories for me, you know.
Sure.
And like I said, I admit, there's 20 minutes of padding. There's a scene where the kids are throwing the ball in the air.
And it's like weirdly in slow motion for some reason. Like, what?
And yeah, I think they're just trying to get to that 80-minute mark for whatever reason. I think that was filmed later on. It was probably Don Dohler's own children or some children in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Go out, run around, throw a ball in the air.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised. We should probably mention, because I'm sure somebody else has already said it out loud to their iPod or whatever it is they're listening to the show on. This movie has been covered on Mystery Science Theater 3000. And from what I understand, it's been done at least twice on that program. Once during its regular run and then once during its early public access days. From what I understand. I couldn't quote you episodes or anything, so I don't know. I'm not that kind of a fan, but yeah.
I've never seen Mystery Science Theater 3000 or what's the other one where the guys spun off?
They did Cinematic Titanic as a touring show.
So there's another thing. I did see this one tour, but they weren't called Cinematic. It was like the guys that were in Mystery Science Theater, but two of them, Riff Tracks.
Yeah, that's the other name, yeah.
Riff Tracks. I did see one of them where they did a movie at a local area where they, it was the only time I've ever seen it. So I, they were like, okay, let me see this. And it was The Tingler. And
oh, wow.
And that, which was fine. I enjoyed it. I didn't like them really making a lot of fun of The Tingler, but it was okay. I never taken my son Patrick to see that, and it was his first time ever seeing The Tingler, and he never realized that the two guys are sitting in the audience riffing on it, even though they said that. It didn't dawn on him. He's like, oh, that wasn't part of the movie? Oh, that was...
Oh,
the guys
my.
riffing.
Yeah.
He said, no wonder I was so confused.
Well, yeah.
So I came to the belief that with Riff Tracks or Mystery Science Theater 3000, I think for me, if I was to watch them, I'd have to have seen the movie first and then watch it, because if I hadn't seen the movie, I'd probably be trying to figure out what's going on in the movie and trying not to listen to them.
Yeah, yeah.
Where if I know what's going on in the movie, I could focus on their riffing, so to speak. But it's really not my cup of tea.
And we've talked about that here in the past on the show, and yeah, I go back and forth on it depending on what time of year and what movie we're talking about. Oh, yeah. All right. Anything else you want to say about the show before we sign off here, sir?
No, I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the episode you got coming up for the next few months. I know in May you're doing your big luchador type stuff.
I got called out. Got to do it. So
if you got the guy showing up in the luchador mask and they found where your new place is, and they're standing at your apartment yelling, "Look, you do luchador, or else you do it."
Well, yeah. Who am I to deny?
I'm looking forward to it because I've only seen a few luchador movies, but I get that sense of what they're about listening to the podcast, and then I know which ones to go and maybe seek out, that kind of stuff.
Right on.
So I look forward to that month because it's like one of the things I love about episodes is when you're talking about movies that I haven't seen yet. Because I always like it when you get the new territory. And I'm not sure how many of your listeners have seen The Alien Factor, so hopefully this is something a lot of them haven't seen. And if they're interested, watch it. Let us know what it's like and give us feedback. And like we said, is it a great movie? No, but it's an entertaining movie to me. And I think it is to you. And that's really when it comes down to, did it entertain you? Yes, there are issues with the movie, but it's still, I think, overall an entertaining movie, at least to me.
Is it a great movie? No. Did I have a great time watching it? Yes. All right, so we talked about it at the top. Let's talk about it again. The Diecast Movie Podcast, available where you can pick up any podcast, available where fine podcasts are sold or downloaded for free. Check out the Movie Diecast Podcast to hear Steve and his guests and interviewees. Your kids still do the show with you?
Yeah, they rotate it up. It's kind of hard right now because of Ben with college. He's gotten swamped. He's gotten bogged down. So it's so right now it's been me with a bunch of other people, but they'll be picking back up again I'm sure shortly they'll be joining with me. For listeners that are wondering, our next episode is going to be a tribute to Howard for his birthday.
And I'm not going to be on it, and I'm so bummed. Okay, not really. I'm really excited to hear somebody else gush about Howard for once, because I can tend to get a little, yeah. So, do you want to announce who it's going to be?
Reber Clark.
There you go.
Composer extraordinaire.
The man is awesome. He's a great dude, great musician, and a fan of Howard.
His knowledge of Howard is extremely good. And so we're going to be doing the movie of his picking and that kind of stuff. And it'll be really cool. I can't wait to do it. And they'll be coming out the 22nd.
Looking forward to it, my friend. Tell Reber I said hi, and I'm not grumpy at all that he's doing one of my favorite movies. And I'm not.
And for listeners wondering what the movie's name is.
I wasn't going to say.
It's The Whole Wide World. And I've yet to watch it, so I'll be watching it soon. So it'll be a first-time viewing for me. And Reber's seen it many times. I know you've seen it many times. But Derek, it's a pleasure as always to be on your show. You do a great job all the time. You know, like I said, pace yourself. It's January. You're already coming out of the gate strong, like I said, but you got to make it all the way through December. So, you know, you got to keep those legs strong, which living on the third floor now is probably going to help you. Build those leg muscles up. Get ready to do it. And listen to Wednesday. She knows what to tell you. She knows what's right. Wednesday's the cat that's out of sight.
Wow. Okay, on that, I'm ending because it's getting, we're done.
You are listening to the most massive carnivorous ground beast in the world. Over 2,000 pounds and 18 feet of gut-crunching, man-eating terror. By its size alone, it can overpower and devour any human. The deadliest jaws on land belong to Grizzly, rated PG, parental guidance suggested.
When will man ever learn that when he pollutes the air and the water, he declares war against nature? American International Pictures presents Frogs, the story of the day nature strikes back. See Frogs, in color, rated PG. Frogs, today the pond, tomorrow the world.
Was he, this being half human, half what? Appearing out of the nightmare darkness. Evil his face, evil his deeds.
Do you really think I'd invent something as horrible as all this just to get rid of a ranch hand?
I don't know what to think. I only know that I can't accept such a thing as a vampire.
His victims, the young and the beautiful, as well as the bold and the strong.
You was just lucky the other night when my man missed you. If that was me, you'd be pushing dirt. Don't reach for your gun. Will you get out of here? You call the time.
Are they doomed, all who oppose him?
Drake!
Can nothing human stop him?
I hit him. I know I hit him. If I can't do it now with your consent, I'll go into Banning and get a court order. But I'm going to open those coffins.
See you dead first! Now get out!
What you just heard there was part of the trailer for the movie Curse of the Undead, which is the movie that we're going to be talking about next week here on the show with Todd Brown from the Haunted Cinema. This is one of those long gestating episodes where he and I have been trying to get something set up, and then I did the move thing, and then, yeah, scheduling's just been a bear, but we're keeping our fingers and tentacles crossed because this Monday, he and I are recording about Curse of the Undead, and I'm super excited about that. So come back for that. In the meantime, though, check out our website, monsterkidradio.net, where you can find links to our Twitter page, our Discord, our Patreon, our Facebook group, and yes, even the Facebook page. I was not able to recover the old Facebook page, so I just made a new one, facebook.com/MKR podcast. Not a lot of material there right now. It's going to take a little while to fill it out, but please consider liking the page if you are a Facebook user. And I'm hoping that we're going to be able to start streaming the Saturday and Tuesday and any other streams that we do through Twitch, also through the Facebook page. It might not happen this weekend, but very soon in the near future, we're going to get that taken care of as well. I'm really excited about all that. Also at our website is our contact information.
You can call and leave a voicemail for Monster Kid Radio at 503-810-5MKR. That's 503-810-5657.
Or you can send an email to the podcast. monsterkidradio@gmail.com is the email address. That's monsterkidradio@gmail.com.
You're also going to find links to everything that we've talked about in this episode of the podcast, including a link to Amazon if you want to pick up a copy of The Alien Factor for yourself. Please consider shopping through the Amazon affiliate links over on the website, whether you're picking up Ultraman, Ultraseven, The Alien Factor, Steve's books, my book, anything that you pick up through Amazon, please consider using the Amazon affiliate link. There's one that looks like a silhouette of the Frankenstein monster. Click on that. That's going to take you to Amazon. And anytime you buy something after you've clicked on that link, we get a little bit of a cut here at Monster Kid Radio. It doesn't cost you any extra. It just helps us out a little bit by giving us a little bit of that sweet, sweet Bezos money. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, everything's over there at the website, so please check it out. And please engage with us through any of our social media outlets, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or anything like that. You know, I've even got an Instagram, but I haven't really done much with the Monster Kid Radio Instagram lately. I personally have a personal Instagram, as does Wednesday, but you know, it's not really Monster Kid Radio specific. Anyway, all the information's over there. You're going to find links to Mark's stuff. You're going to find links to Steve Turek's website and podcast and all that. It's just, everything's there. That's where you want to go. And then follow the links to go to the other places that you want to go. You know? Until next week, remember that Monster Kid Radio is a registered service mark of Monster Kid Radio, LLC. All original content of Monster Kid Radio by Monster Kid Radio, LLC is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 3.0 unported license. Of course, it doesn't apply to the song Astronave 63. That belongs to the band Five Fingers with Parasol. The name of the album is Si Tuviere Una Longboard. It's the best I'm going to be able to do, gang. 5fingers.bandcamp.com will get you to their Bandcamp page. That song is copyright the band Si Tuviera Una Longboard 2017. Until next week, my name is Derek M. Cook, and I've been your host here for Monster Kid. Why is this sounding awkward all of a sudden? I don't know. Probably because the episode's running late. Ciao.